that you're trying to protect?
Well, Ringing the Valley is a native forest that's home to 45 endangered species, plants and animals. But right there, right on either side, and in the midst of the training area, you've got literally hundreds of cultural sites. You've got petroglyphs, habitation sites, Noho Hewa. These are all irreplaceable cultural resources that we want to make sure that the Army takes extra care to make sure that they're not going to be damaged while they do their training.
There's no way that use of this valley for any kind of training can be okay. I mean, there is no agreement that can make that okay. And the whole issue is returning Makua to the people. I mean, that has to be the focus, not controlling how the military uses it. This is just like crazy.
Every one of these soldiers will be in harm's way in a few months, either by deploying to Iraq or Afghanistan, each of which will be 12-month deployments for our soldiers in combat operations.
We're used to shooting from foxhole or shooting in a prone position, and this is a little bit different and something we'll need to train up on since we're going to deploy.
Mm-hmm. Was this your first time doing that kind of an exercise?
Yes.
This was my first time.
Did you think it was successful? Or?
Yeah, it went pretty well overall. It was a good exercise for all the soldiers that haven't done it. It's good training because, you know, like you said, we're getting ready to deploy.
Been in Oahu for 3 years now.
Do you like it here?
No, actually I don't. I'm a city guy.
Hold that pole.
It's going down over here. It's crazy. Man, you might take cover over there, man.
Grab a pole! Grab a pole!
They're one more step closer to being trained and confident in their mission, so that they're there to conduct their operations and save their lives and make sure that they all come back home safely to us.
We can only train with what we got. It's going to be different in combat. You know, combat, if you come into contact once, it's a very good chance you can have it again. You're not just going to be like, all right, let's relax.
I don't think I hit squat out there, but the fact that I was putting bullets down range, keeping heads down. So you mean, I had some guys next to me that didn't fire all their ammo and made the count. Well, I didn't have any good shots. It's like, open up both your eyes, look over the top of the weapon, and just get some fire down, because, you know, if you're sitting there, I don't know if anyone's ever had the distinct pleasure of having it, you can hear like the zip and the crack of the bullets, and it scares the crap out of you. And so you're going to get down.
You're moving, and then maybe your target's moving. Yeah. It's like good training. I don't know. I've never done that.
That was the whole point. Really, just get you run out of
ammo. Oh, fuck him.
Yeah, of course he would.
That's my favorite thing.
All right. Excellent. Any other points? Anybody thinks that?
What we have learned is one of the most frequent enemy encounters today is when our soldiers are traveling on the roadways. So we want to save their lives and make sure that they're trained to be able to handle any type of situation.
What will you do when the war is over? Tender comrade, when we lay down our weary guns, when we return home to our wives and families, and look into the eyes of our sons, what will you say of the bond we had? Tender comrade,
that is Hewa, with so many people getting killed. And the U.S. military has also been Hewa to us, overthrowing our native government in 1893, starting a huge military occupation in 1898, launching World War II and all of the other wars since then out of here, practicing to launch those wars out of sacred valleys like Makua. There's so much military here. I don't mean just that there's a military presence on the islands, that we've become so used to it that people in Hawaii don't even notice it. There's an encroachment of military thinking that seeps into our everyday lives here in Hawaii, and then it becomes normalized.
What should we stand for the governmental victory? Say fuck that.
Even at the university, there was tremendous pressure to let the military in, to develop a university-affiliated research center for the Navy.
You hypocritic Christian written words, know what your plan for the providence you promised us to serve.
Happy holidays. Just some information on what's going on with the university and classified research.
Our university may become part of developing weapons of mass destruction. So we are in front of President McLean's home, soliciting his guests for a holiday party. People gave their life to the Vietnam War, are still suffering from Agent Orange. So that's one byproduct of military and university sleeping in the same bed, I guess.
That was the University of Hawaii?
Yeah.
And the blind will steady follow every gimmick that he sells. Should I stand for the problem that you started in the first? Actions contradict your hypocritic Christian written words. Know what your plan for the providence you promised us to serve. Launching missiles and unfinished missions, killing off the earth. Let's run them down.
Classified research must be done outside academic units, off the duty period, or off campus. And those are where the default is you can't do it except on an exceptional basis. And most universities that have that, there's some sort of referral review process, some of which involves administrators, some of which involves the faculty.
How do we dare even examine a policy that is so unfair and so unbelievably imposed on people who have no opportunity to talk about whether they want it? What right does our university have to do that? That's what the UARC is about, and that's what this is addressing.
You know, and I think the ethical issues here are primary.
When you dump Agent Orange into a stream, it enters the food chain forever. When you bomb Makua Valley, the lead and unexploded ordnances enter the food chain forever. We can't have any more generational struggles like a UARC. We have Waikane, we have Pakuloa, we have Pearl Harbor, we have Mauna Kea and Haleakala now.
And how accountable would RCUH be to any university policy that we would make against classified research?
The Research Corporation is a separate corporation. We have our own board. We have our own policies. We have nothing against doing classified research.
So even if the university were to ban classified research, RCUH could.
That's right.
How do we address this as a university that has ethical and moral obligations to the people whose land this is? It makes no sense to me.
Well, it may not. Okay, I think we want to move on to the question.
A university-affiliated research center is, in many respects, no different than any other research center. There is a review prior to the execution of contract. That it was in my interest and also in the university's interest to pursue this research under national security. They would grant me permission to conduct that research. That's basically the process that the University of Washington goes through for its principal investigators who desire to do research of a classified nature.
The reason most of us are here is to oppose the introduction or continuation of military research that has taken up so much of the land of Hawaii and destroyed so much of the land of Hawaii. That's why we're opposed to the UARC and these other areas of research.
You know, we don't need a lot of percentage of research in order to develop weapons of mass destruction or technology that is supportive of basically you know, a policy, a governmental policy that has been used to kill a lot of people.
Consultations that were promised to us are simply bringing in people from outside and telling us what they do. This is such a bogus, this is an example of classified research in itself. It's all classified. It's all secret. You're not giving us the consultations. You're not listening to the community. You're not hearing what these people say. It's irrelevant what these guys do at their U.S. universities. It's irrelevant to our UARC issue.
I was just reading the Board of Regents minutes from November 18, 2004, in which Mr. Bukamis is named as a consultant on UARC. Is that true?
That is correct. I've been hired to explain some of the issues and problems that the University of Washington has had pertaining to UARCs. I've also been hired to assist in any type of contract negotiations that the University of Hawaii chooses to engage in with the Navy and the federal government.
They're paying you money for the UARC, and you come here and purport to be talking about the research at the University of Washington. You're a fraud. You're really an academic fraud. It's embarrassing.
I'm sorry, we have to get out of this room at 5:30.
I know, we have 5 minutes.
It's
5:25.
Okay, class is coming in. We've reserved the room next door.
At 6 o'clock, it's
Don't do that.
The intention of the two industries that run Hawaii, militarism and tourism, is clearly the best example of the future that is projected for Hawaiians. You will be a servant. You will be in a position where you are subjected to someone else's power who is racially, ethnically different than you.
Their vision of what Hawaii should be is being lived at the expense of the Hawaiian. This is the kind of development that's occurring in Hawaii over and over. Homes here are $10, $11 million just to build their own piece of paradise where they cut up into 1 acre lots. It's all gated to keep out the natives. But again, they have access to the beach, next to the resort hotel. I mean, the idea is to kind of capture this kind of, give it a Hawaiian flavor. Yeah, something that's palatable for those who settle here. Not a true example of what Hawaiians are about, but one that's just enough Hawaiian.
Well, Gerald Visner says the simulation of the native presence always signals the native absence.
You see, that's part of the creation of this fictional paradise also, is that, yes, we live amongst the ruins of the ancient Hawaiians, across from the beach. We are protectors and stewards of the environment. It's all part of this produced image of somehow being one with nature and being one with the environment. But in reality, again, we are the Hawaiians. The Hawaiians are removed from the area. The Hawaiians are banned from the area. And all that's kept are the artifacts of the Hawaiians, the archaeology of Hawaii. It's a right to have those things protected, but keep the Hawaiians out. And this is a great example of that.
In Hokulia, they actually market on their website that you can golf next to an ancient Hawaiian burial site.
This is Pu'u Ohau. In this Pu'u, there's many burials of our ancestors. You can see the grass and the sand traps that's already up on the Pu'u. And these lots and this project start from 1 million up to 8 million and maybe even more. So this burial mound will have 5 houses with swimming pools and amenities for the rich and famous on our burial grounds. Those orange things up on the hill is plastic fencing that's used to mark off graves, heiaus. At one point, it seemed like the whole project was on orange fence. They have caves up here that we have burials in. Some of these caves are a long distance, and they have bodies all in there. I've actually approached the burial council to penetrate these burial tubes with their sewage, electrical, and water lines. They've been open at least thousands of prayers. We never have a backhoe come over here and dig out the ground for bury you. Way back, we never have metal, was with wood and just hands. And you definitely know what's happening on luau. They didn't cry when they put that person in there. They didn't pray if there's nobody bother. They didn't do all of that prayers. Every stone that they didn't put on top of the body after. And every dirt was done with prayer and tears. And they didn't open those prayers, and ain't nobody can fix that. When this is all done, just really look at what gets for our people here. They'll come in and clean up the trash for all these millionaires, cut their grass, water their lawns, servant jobs. This is arrogance. They should be reading this more than anybody. Historic sites is punishable under state law, Chapter 6E, Hawaii Revised Statutes, and you will answer to the kupuna you desecrate also, and to kia kua for this desecration. So hopefully they don't feel so comfortable that, it's all about the state law. We're all going to go to somewhere someday when we leave this earth. State law not going to be there.
The archaeologists define our resting places, either previously known or they're inadvertent. The degree to which one must go to prove that they're previously known It just is an incredible amount of work to do this. The majority of these remains would be classified as inadvertent. These dots represent sacred sites. The orange represent not respected, built upon, and the blue symbolize sites that are known within properties that are owned in the American system of ownership. Every day in Kona, developers are wiping away connectedness to our ancient past every day. We're in a place in Kona called La'aloa. It means great sacredness. And so a subdivision is built here on lands that are named La'aloa from when we don't know. But we do know that along with many other properties on this coast, there are burials here. These houses in La'aloa range from 500,000 through 1 million. Destruction of the Hawaiian way of life used to look like a missionary holding a Bible. This is what it looks like in the 21st century. If they can't get Hawaiians out of our lands one way, they'll get us out economically. Who can afford this of our oiwi?
There is no word for aloha aina in English. None. Real estate does not produce food, it produces profit.
Based on my review of all of the available information, I believe the conclusion is clear that Site 6413 has never been recognized by archaeologists as, or should it now be considered, primarily a burial complex, and that the human burials discovered beneath the habitation features G1 and G2 are and should be treated as legitimate inadvertent discoveries and not as previously identified features.
We excavated almost the entire structure, about 25 square meters of it, down to bedrock, and found over 200 artifacts and abundant food remains throughout that deposit. There was a lava blister that was visible from the surface. After we completely excavated this site, then we used a sledgehammer to crack open this blister. And that, in so doing, we encountered 2 fragments of long bone and 3 other small fragments of human bone, which are still in there.
What action are we going to be taking? What charges are we going to be filing? That is some kind of desecration. I mean, there is no doubt. Once it's a burial, it's a burial. I gotta tell you guys, that was hard for me to sit here and hear that as a Hawaiian in the work we do. It was very, very difficult. You're really lucky that this is modern times and you have the shield of the law for coming here, disrespect us of who we are and do that kind of work. That's not work, that's desecration.
We would have never found those remains.
Well, you should never be digging.
It's better to find them.
Shut up, I'm talking. When I give testimony, you do not speak when I am giving testimony. You know why? You know why? This is so damn serious. To sledgehammer any site. That's not what we hire you for. You mean $1.5 million? You know, Council, please forgive me. When we come here and sit here as people, Hawaiians, and testify in public, we don't get paid $1 million like human Paul to sit here. We're speaking real deal from our heart, from our soul, from our Hawaiian, and who we are. So we get more weight on this imaginary scale than all your years of desecrating, okay? It's serious, serious shit. Serious. So serious that it's easy to break the law. That when you touch our burials, not only you touching them, you just pounding with a hammer and thinking that you can justify to me that because you have to bust them for final? We're going to have that explained, Council. So I want to ask you, what is the machine here that's going to protect us, that's going to prosecute this? This is not acceptable. This is $1 million contract sledgehammering our EV.
The law says go in and data recovery and you open up a platform like an EV. Anyone else, that would be a violation. But it's not for that person because the department said go for it. That's the problem.
Desecration is a word that implies that something is sacred and then it was desecrated. Americans, both governmentally and individually, there is nothing that is sacred to Americans. Nothing.
My name is Tai Kuvika Tengan. I'm an associate professor of ethnic studies, anthropology at the University of Hawaii. We are at Mokapu Peninsula, Kaneohe Marine Corps Station. This is the site of the single largest and longest running desecration of Native Hawaiian ancestral remains, or iwi kupuna, starting from the period of 1915 up and through the present. Over 3,000 sets of individual human remains were disinterred from this peninsula. With some of the construction projects that took place, including the creation of a golf course right on the primary burial site, those remains ended up in some 507 cardboard boxes in the Bishop Museum.
When was the last time iwi were discovered here?
I just got a notice last week.
Last week? So it's ongoing?
Yes. Anytime they put a shovel in the ground, just about, on this peninsula.
Just outside of Pearl Harbor, where the U.S. military wanted to expand the sewer facility. They realized that the sewer facilities was right next door to a Hawaiian burial site. They asked the Hawaiians, would you rather us build and construct on top of the gravesite, or would you rather us dig up your kupuna and move them to the side? But in our hearts, the others in the burial council said, well, two evils, the best of two evils was to remove our kupuna, because there's no way we could allow them to build a sewer facility on top of our kupuna. But think about that. The U.S. military was even considering building their sewer facilities on a known burial site. So it's very clear when people talk about somehow burials are protected under law. No, only certain burials are protected under law. It's very clear native burials are not. The military would not even consider building a sewer facility at Punch Bowl. But the right of the military to discharge their waste was more important than the religious and spiritual rights of the Kanaka to remain in the ground in their own homeland.
As we remember the departed today, as we remember all veterans, let our spirits be proud of them. Let our hearts be compassionate and our minds clear and determined in honor and respect, not only today, but every day. And let us be dependent on our God.
Native burial is always a target for the tourists or for the benefit of the military. So when people talk about this is about the right of the military to prepare their soldiers well, I don't know how golf gets into that question. I don't know how the expansion of your sewer facilities gets into that question of preparing your soldiers for battle. You can clearly see it's beyond that. It's really about them controlling everything, dominating everything, even at the expense of our kupuna. So even you as a Hawaiian, you can get evicted as Hawaiian even when you pass on. We're always at the threat of being evicted from our homelands, even when we're under the ground.
Are you guys setting up for an event?
Wedding.
A wedding?
It makes you wonder what kind of people enjoy doing these kinds of things, again, right to a sacred site or a mass burial site.
Getting to the larger issue of occupation is one of the techniques for erasing indigenous peoples. By denying their presence today is to show that, look, they're all gone and dead now. We have their bones to show for it. It denies the continued persistence of indigenous peoples, and in many ways buttresses this kind of narrative of the settler societies that came to replace them.
We really need to revive a critical analysis of colonialism and understand what settler colonialism is. It's not sort of extractive colonialism like you had the British in India taking out the resources and returning them to Queen England motherland. It's about implanting non-Hawaiians in Hawaii.
You will have to be the invaders. Enjoy your free job. Terrorists. Enjoy your terrorists at Walmart. It was brought to you by our 44 ancestors whose graves were desecrated.
I'm Moses Haya. I'm the staff attorney with the Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation. The iwi for Hawaiians are our foundation. It's what we look to, what gives us the mana to continue to be Hawaiians in present-day society. We're here today to protest the hewa that continues with respect to the iwi that had, prior to their disturbance, been at rest and at po, that is where they belong.
Under the ramp in that enclosed area is where our kupunas are being held captive. Our biggest issue today is they're opening their store, our kupunas are sitting there and they're just driving up and down over them.
Unmarked grave. Okay, when you guys told them had iwi on our land, why you guys never maintain them as one graveyard?
The general public is not supposed to know where they are buried. You want us to go and groom it like punch bowl. I'm saying that's a Western style of cemetery.
Oh, come on. It was your ancestors. You didn't take very good care of them.
No. All the howlies, they're just like on disease.
Yeah,
they just spread where nobody like them.
But we have the power to protest. You may not think that that makes a difference, but it does. It does.
You gotta think.
You are walking and shopping and getting your pajama juice on a graveyard.
Sorry, I'm gonna be good.
Bananas split! Bananas unite! Go bananas! Go bananas! Go bananas! Go bananas!
How much did they pay you for that?
Oh, this is Jump of Love.
It's all free?
Jump of Love.
You're doing it because you just love bananas?
Oh, I like bananas, but I love Jump.
Walmart only thinks of the bottom line, and that bottom line is how much money are they going to be able to make. In order to do that, they have to ensure that whatever they do is done as quickly as possible, so they are up and running as quickly as possible.
Aole, kupuna iwi lying there, and you don't want to run them over. That's desecration. You like hewa? You want bad things happen? You go forward. If you are, you guys are sick people. No, we're not. We're real.
My name is Kahili Kawainui Norman. I'm here to support our kupuna iwi. They had put them back before the opening. They'll make their store in us pono. Even if we disagree, because they disinterred and they didn't follow through with that.
When you die, the mana is in your bones. And in order for that essential part of you to go back to the earth, you need to be planted there and left there until your bones disintegrate.
It doesn't make sense to me to keep a piece of ground vacant just because somebody's buried down there, especially people that nobody now living ever knew.
You stay out of my kupuna cemetery, and I'll stay out of yours.
My name is Chris. I've lived here for 3 years. I have no ancestors here, but I definitely feel that this is an important issue, and I definitely support it.
How would you like it if I dig up your Japanese cemetery wall? As far as you, Howie, wow, you guys don't even have a culture. You're less than 200, you're only 200 years old.
What is their culture? Baseball, hot dog, apple pie, and Walmart.
If Bush's ancestors were buried here, you think there'd be a Walmart?
Bush? No, probably not.
So everybody is just people.
Would you step on your grandmother's grave?
Making a profit off of the further disturbance and desecration of our ancestors. That is the ultimate slap in the face to Hawaiians.
This will be the area where the iwi kupuna will be reinterred. They were removed just maybe about 20, 30 feet away from where they're going to be laid back to rest. So isn't that's sickening.
The conflict between who we are and the prevention of us being who we are creates, what Whanau called the brain is sliced in half because half of you is native and you're living in a non-native world.
You're Hawaiian? You're driving over your kupuna?
I'm 50
What's it feel like? How's that feel? Can you give me an interview?
That's what it's all about. You put your right hand in, you put your right hand up, you put your right hand in, and you shake it up. You do the hokey pokey, turn yourself about. That's what it's all about. You put your left hand in, you put your left hand out, you put your left hand in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey, and you turn yourself about.
At the end of 2008, and we still haven't reinterred the iwi kupuna that were placed in containers under the driveway. And what's worse is that one of the archaeologists desecrated our iwi kupuna. They had taken a hand from the iwi, placed it in a paper bag, and wrote on it, Louis Vuitton handbag.
So how does that make you feel?
That is settler colonialism. It's about replacing the indigenous people within their own landscape. And we need to look at that. Occupation is a part of colonialism.
Tourism, militarism, those are material forces, and they change the way people who are native endure or don't endure. How can you possibly live a native life in that situation? Your life is being in the colony and being colonized and fighting it. If you survive, you yourself are targeted, you yourself are defined by blood quantum, you yourself are commodified, and then you have to fight for and live with and understand that the place you live in is commodified. That objectification of Hawaiians is in great part due to the Western imagination. Propaganda is a material force. It is no longer just ideology. Not that ideology can't be a material force, but you have to understand how it functions. And once you do understand it, that itself can make you go off, because it is so horrible. It is so horrible. Television is horrible. The way people mimic Hawaiians, the way non-Hawaiians can dance hula and participate in language classes and pretend that they are Hawaiians. It's not just tourism that did it. It's the idea that somewhere out there in the world is the native, and you can discover it, and you can actually take it over. It can become a part of you. Ethnic cleansing isn't just something that they do physically to people. It's something that happens in your mind. Every people is accustomed to their natural environment. This is not our natural environment anymore. This is a tourist environment. This is a military environment.
Military police.
That's the real strong right there. Get those faces. They look at this place as a thing, a stop in their career, right? So they don't care.
You know what land you're on? You know what land you're on? You're on Native Hawaiian land.
They don't give a shit.
Fuck you! We don't want to be here, you dumb Asians.
Get out of here.
Fucking Hawaiians. Like you don't know how to talk English, why don't you let Japan take over, you dumb asshole?
the grammatical structure of Olelo Hawaii.
You know what? I don't give a shit.
You cannot set up a military installation in a neutral country. Otherwise, you bring that country into harm's way. December 7, 1941, Hawaii was attacked because of Pearl Harbor. It wasn't attacked because of Hawaii's sovereignty. That's the problem. Also, Hawaii is targeted for nuclear strikes by Russia and China. The question now is, or what was posed earlier, could Korea reach Hawaii? That's why we have barking sands. We have intercept missiles. The whole point is to protect the military installations here in the Hawaiian Islands. That brings Hawaii into harm's way.
It's hard to reverse something that is economically and militarily forced upon you. You become a diminished people, which is the plan. That's the plan. You know, there's more military people here than there are Hawaiians. Just the thought of it gives you a sense of what happened to us.
Woo! Don't be a coward. Don't be a coward. Stand up. Be counted. Stand up and be proud to be American. Nation, thank you. That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Support the president!
I have a map here. It was given to me by a retired admiral. It shows the lands that are occupied by the military now, approximately 200,000 acres, not including Coast Guard, National Guard, and military sea and airspace. Nearly a quarter of the island of Oahu is controlled by the military. 56% of the military-controlled lands in Hawaii consist of occupied Hawaiian national lands, or the ceded lands. And this is indicated here.
We have never consented to the taking of those lands. And further, about half to maybe 60% of the lands that the U.S. military occupies right now are our national lands, the so-called ceded lands.
Lands here are not ceded. The more appropriate term would be seized. These are seized lands, and that is called occupation.
People talk about this as though this is fact, that Hawaiians somehow ceded these lands to the government, whether it's the state or the federal government. These are the Hawaiian Kingdom Crown and government lands. It's the Republic of Hawaii under Sanford B. Dole's government that ceded these lands to the U.S. federal government in 1898, 5 years after the U.S. government helped back them in overthrowing the Queen. Ceded is a polite word for stolen. And when we talk about the Hawaiian Kingdom Crown and government lands, we're talking about 1.8 million acres of land.
They had to disguise Hawaii as being annexed by treaty. A treaty is supposed to convey from a grantor to a grantee. There is no treaty. All you have is the joint resolution. The joint resolution is not cession. The joint resolution is a unilateral act seizing the territory of another country. That's not cession. And a joint resolution cannot affect the foreign country. A joint resolution can no more annex Afghanistan today than it could annex Hawaii in 1898. There's no treaty. Hawaii is not a part of the United States.
The first thing you look at when you talk about statehood, just as a historian, is, where's the self-determination here? The so-called plebiscite here takes its form as a general election in which virtually everyone here is allowed to vote, not just the people who are actual inheritors of the situation. You have military personnel who are allowed to vote. And even then, there's not an overwhelming number of people who vote, not an overwhelming percentage. And then you're given a choice between statehood and the maintenance of a territorial status. And so there's clearly no exercise of self-determination, not given the full range of choices. When you look at this from, from the perspective of analyzing this as a colony, then the United States has basically avoided having to measure up to UN standards.
What I think we need to really do is have a really critical analysis that can read the settler colonial landscape and talk about how the military doesn't just occupy with tanks. The U.S. government occupies with making our homeland unaffordable, so our people have to move to Vegas to survive, or increasingly these days Texas and Oklahoma, right? And that this becomes yet another wave. I mean, we're in another whole wave of tourist encroachment in terms of also home ownership. I mean, the homelessness in Hawaii has almost tripled just in the last 3 years. And so what we've got is a whole nother wave of neo-colonial occupation. And I think we need to bring those two things in the same frame and not get confused.
They're always threatening us. They're coming in to get us off the beach. They come in and they steal all our belongings. And they arrest us. I feel like Queen Liliuokalani sometimes when she was waiting for them to come and get her and tell her that they're going to imprison her. And that's what it feels like sometimes. For me, it's like she went through it. It's like we going through it, still going through the same thing.
Where else to go as a Hawaiian? I'd rather just kill myself and get it over with. Might as well line us up and just blow us all away because we want problem to them. Really?
All my life, they wanted me to fear them. I'm not doing it no more. For who I am and for who my ancestors are.
Cool it!
You did it,
There it is. That's just what ethnic cleansing establishes. That's just what diaspora establishes. You have no place to live. You do not have a home. You're not there. My cousin died in Kapolani Park. He was a homeless person. I didn't even know that. He died in his sleeping bag. And he was discovered because, they come in there periodically to push them away. He died of a heart attack.
I got trashed by the law when they gave me 5 minutes to move out of the bushes. I lost everything I owned in that bushes. In California, you can go in with $100 and come out with almost 2.5 shopping carts of groceries. You go in here, you come out, and you don't even need the cart to walk out. It's supposed to be over easy, but I'm never good at eggs. If he wants good eggs, then he's gonna do his own eggs. You know, but right now he can't do the eggs because his hand. So I'm doing his eggs. And, he's gonna get his eggs the way I cook it. Who? Yeah? You want the now or after? This is Hawaii, and the Hawaiians that are homeless do not have a place to go. The state's selling off the land, and the Hawaiian people, who are majority are in poverty.
What is your name?
I care. And that's AU.
Oh.
Have you seen the apology bill? It says that on October 27, considered and passed a joint resolution to acknowledge the anniversary of January 17th, 1893 overthrow of the kingdom, to offer the apology to the native Hawaiians on the behalf of the United States for the overthrow of the Kingdom of Hawaii, whereas prior to the arrival of the first Europeans in 1778, the native Hawaiian people lived in a highly organized, self-sufficient social system based on communal land and sophisticated language, culture, and religion.
The United States basically doesn't consider apology laws amounting to much. They acknowledge the history, but it doesn't really have any kind of force, even in the highest court of the land. So what you're basically faced with is the question of what can we do legally? What can we do in terms of addressing the legal community to secure our rights as a nation, our national rights? And you know, the answer, as near as I can tell, is at this point is not very much.
When you carefully read the records of the Congress, especially the secret transcripts of May 31st, 1898 in the U.S. Senate, the purpose of the annexation was military necessity. Military necessity, and that the joint resolution was to be considered as an agreement between the House and Senate to authorize the President to seize Hawaii under the law of nations as a matter of military necessity. Now, if Hawaii was seized by military necessity, then the measurement of that seizure is an international law. It's not American domestic laws, because what is being seized is a foreign state. Now, by seizing this foreign state did not diminish Hawaii's sovereignty. It's still intact, but it's occupied.
That's how occupation works. The military comes in, secures and constructs this land as one that is safe, available, and open for business.
And as long as Hawaiians can cloud title, the U.S. military cannot expand in the way that it wants to. And so what you've got with the Akaka bill is the federal government sitting down a group of Hawaiians that it authorizes.
The primary purpose of the Akaka bill is to get you to collaborate with the U.S. government in erasing the effect of the 1993 apology resolution. Okay? Because the apology resolution finally admits what you and your kupuna and your ancestors have known all along, which is that you have never given up your sovereignty to the United States. Finally, in 1993, they timidly acknowledged the truth.
What we have right now with the Akaka bill is a land grab in the disguise of granting Hawaiians the rights of American Indians.
That's the basis of the Akaka bill, to exercise self-determination within U.S. law, namely to become a recognized tribe. That's completely irrelevant if Hawaii is not a part of the United States to begin with.
What's not being exposed is that this is the state government trying to get the federal government to pass this legislation so that the state government and the federal government can snuff out any existing claims that the Hawaiian people and other descendants of the Hawaiian Kingdom still have over our Hawaiian Kingdom crown and government lands.
There's what is legal and what is political. And clearly, what Hawaiians have discovered is that our political case, our political will That's not really constrained by any kind of court or any kind of legislation. That's only constrained by how much we're willing to do, how far we're willing to commit to know who we are, to study our history, and to insist that we are a nation.
In 1898, we had over 30,000 of our kupuna who said no to annexation. So we have never given a consent. Yet we find ourselves today, a so-called elder, begging on his knees, groveling to the Senate, begging to be recognized as a native. How embarrassing, how painful, how shameful that we must beg to be recognized who we are. I'm sorry that he doesn't know his history. We are Kanaka to these lands, Maoli to these lands, Oiwi to these lands, to the Aina. That can never be severed or broken away. We know that. Their game is to make us to forget that. Our right to govern ourselves can never be taken away. It can only be given away. And that's what the Kaka Bill is about. It's about a fraud, it's about a facade. It's about Hawaiians giving their consent to be incorporated under the United States of America.
For the past 100 years, all we have here are illegal acts being imposed in a sovereign country.
Let's say hypothetically somebody said, yes, let's settle. We will compromise. What does that get us? People are actually signing on to something that will help us extinguish title that we've never done heretofore, and it's been over 113 years since the overthrow. The fact that we still have that claim in our hands and that it was reaffirmed in the Apology Resolution of 1993 is a very, very powerful thing. I'd rather be holding on to that. Just because I can't realize that claim, or just because our people can't realize that claim, thanks to settler colonialism and military occupation and tourist inundation, it doesn't mean that we forfeit it and that we give it up. We don't relinquish the claim. We continue to assert the claim. We assert it and we assert it and we say as loudly as possible, we do not consent, whether we live in Kentucky or Waianae. We do not consent to this.
On Maui's case, it's really what comes along with the military. You know, it's that capitalists, it's that large money holders who come along for the ride, and especially, you know, tying into tourism or the kind of resort mentality. We're in dire straits. I mean, I really look at this, we're in an emergency situation at this point, you know, for affordable housing. The average price is at $1 million. The average price of a home in 1 year has gone up to over $260,000 in 1 year. The result that we have today, of course, which is, you know, people homeless. These aren't just people that are on the margins of society. They're talking about families now that are living in those kinds of areas. Their paradise is driving us out of our homeland.
That's all a part of ethnic cleansing. Bring in the tourists, let them buy the rich places, build hotel resorts, do it. Then the Hawaiians will leave, the diaspora will increase. Well, of course it'll be increased because we don't have any place to live.
This is Kepaniwai. The land we're standing on right now are all part of the land that was taken during the confiscation of the land after the illegal invasion in 1893. The ditch system is owned or claimed to be owned by people like A and B, or Alexander and Baldwin, who take the water out of our valley for their own financial gain and speculative causes out there for their economic benefit. And there are a whole series of ditches like this that take millions and millions of gallons of water every day out of valleys like Wailuku. The stream actually flows up here, but by the time it reaches the ocean, it's totally dry. Nothing is coming out. Life comes from the mix of the fresh and salt water. And you have, of course, the production of seaweed. And from the small seaweed, of course, then you have smaller fish that's eaten by the big fish that's eaten by the kanaka. So the whole question about overfishing being what's destructive to the environment of fishing, to me, is really a fallacy and fraud, because in reality, it's the destruction of the environment that's caused the problems with what appears to be overfishing. In Hawaiian, you have that saying, hahai ka'ua i ka'ulala'au. rain follows the trees. If the trees are gone, that means the rain is gone. If you got no rain in the uplands, that means you got no rain in the lowlands. And no rain in the lowlands, of course, has a direct effect on the amount of life that's being produced. When we look at the amount of water that's being depleted of the streams, I mean, this is really an environmental crime that's going on. We're witnessing right now. And the environmental crime, of course, is a crime against humanity, as we as the Kanaka who take our sustenance or life from those foods. And so, so we're not talking about just some water being diverted, but virtually all of the water being diverted. I mean, you can clearly see right now, this is almost every day.
Hawaiians and Hawaiian Islands, everything is on holistic system. It's like our Ahupua'a system. Ahupua'a system is a land management system that divides the land up from the mountain to sea in different sections around the island. In your Ahupua'a, in your land management system that runs from the mountain to the sea, you have everything you need for survive here. You can find the material you need for cover the hale, cover yourself with clothes. You can find the food up Mauka, up Makai. If we used to run things, our environment nowadays like that, we would not have all of the problems that we face today. These triangles right here represent my island. It means I'm from Molokai, but more important, this is the highest mountains on my island. This is Kamako, which is right in the back of us. I also get the kalo leaf on my arm, which identifies me to anybody in Polynesia, anybody throughout the world, that I am of the family of Haloa. Okay? With these tattooed on me, it gives me a good sense of where I'm from, who I am, and what my kuleana. It connects me. Okay? It connects me like this pond connects us to the top of the mountains. This nursery pond is fed by a spring, an underground lava tube that feeds water from there to here. It also brings Oopu, Opai, and Hapawai into this system.
When you suck from the top, the well, you suck 1 foot. You drain the aquifer 1 foot. Under the aquifer, get the lens, and you get the brackish water lens, and you get the salt water. So every time you suck 1 foot, the brackish water and the salt water move 40 feet. It's a 1:40 ratio.
So
okay?
springs,
so what's happening on our reef
devastating.
Is just as bad as what's happening to our rivers. So there's not only one effect in the mountain, I think affect the whole reef area. So all the places where get the springs for the ele and all that kind of stuff for the mullet and all the baby fish for eat, like all these oases
the nurseries.
on the reef, all the nurseries,
all
get affected.
Yeah, no more the brackish water limus anymore.
So it's like, bro, you cannot be sucking.
What about the spring over here?
In time, eventually, they all gonna get affected.
Down here.
Go right here.
Yeah, all these springs going down.
Down.
If we don't fight back, we out of here.
Oh,
in history, because this place could become so expensive and so valuable monetarily.
It did threaten us with the kind though, like, oh, if you guys not don't approve of this plan, you guys don't support it, you know, we could just sell it to the military.
So what? The land.
Yeah. To strike a brigade, this and that.
They always think, oh, they're weirdo aggressors. Well, fuck, just their presence is aggressive.
Yeah.
And they get the whole country of America behind them, you know? It's like talking about equality. If you look at them and you see what they represent is the fucking military, the fucking overthrow of the kingdom, the fucking...
Find out just in the time frame where we living in, if we don't fight, then this next 30 years, this next 50 years, gonna be the last 50 years of Hawaiian existence. But we're gonna survive the act of trying to wipe us out. We're gonna bounce back, gain momentum, and then we're gonna continue being Kanaka. But it almost seems like these next several decades gonna be super critical. We fought against Molokai Ranch to stop the development at Lau Point. Then they dropped all of their workers, like 4% of Molokai's workforce, no jobs. They tried to shut off their water to all the people that bought land down on the west end side. They shut down the Kaluakoi Hotel. They shut down the theaters. They shut down the golf course. And right now, after all of that, they leased all of this land to Monsanto. So it's like the battle never stopped. And we're still fighting them today, even though they lost. Because they just passed whatever they had in the battle to another entity that's willing to fight and willing to go against our island and our community and the Hawaiian people.
What does Monsanto grow?
Monsanto grows corn that is not edible. They grow these experimental corn. Right now, everything we see, all of this was once Molokai Ranch. Now is under the control of Monsanto. We have the most open field test sites for GMOs in the whole world. Pretty much makes us a big sacrifice zone. Because what it does is, I mean, we sacrifice in our water, our land, our people, and our future for experiments. Experiments. So, I mean, that's pretty much, yeah. This is us on platter. Do what you like. If we die, we die. Because this company always get money and they get the resources for justify their needs, they get the water over the Hawaiians. They take in our water, which is our most precious, most valuable resource, and we using them on stuff that we cannot eat. So to me, that's a no-brainer. That's stupid. Because we're not benefiting in any way besides maybe 30 jobs for Hawaiians. The tree line where you see the fields and the bushes, that's the start of the Hawaiian homestead. And it stretches from the tree line north to the right.
How many Hawaiians live there?
You have about maybe 300 families. That's so sad that we stay in a place this beautiful and yet all of this is just sacrificed. Even if you're not one cornfield worker, even if you don't care about GMOs, this thing gonna affect the water you drink, the plants that you put into your body, and the plants that affect your whole system and your kids and your family and your future. How can this not be important to us? Not only on Molokai, but to everybody. How can we allow these people for operate, these operations for exist, when we know that all they're doing is poisoning and polluting and destroying us and our place? To me, that don't make sense. I don't know why we're just standing by and allowing this to happen. This is heaven. This is heaven. There's many examples and many ways to be heaven, but this is heaven.
Empire demands death. They go together. You cannot establish your own country in somebody else's country unless you kill off those people. American Indians, the Indians of the Americas. Canadians do it. Americans do it. Latin Americans do it. So it's
not about dropping the analysis of occupation. It's about marrying an analysis of occupation with what it means to live as a colonized people in your own homeland.
the only thing I think that people can do is to fight it. For me, anyway. I can't stand being depressed, which I am every day. Get up depressed. Because it kills you. So if you get out there and you say, okay, we're going to fight this, you feel a lot better because you're taking control over something, as small as it might be or turn out to be. It's way better than doing nothing. You must fight it even if you lose.
Anybody that doesn't have a sign, you're welcome to go in.
How do they expect to nurture the relationship between the public and the Army without allowing us to bring in our displays?
You're holding a public hearing in a private fucking country club
And then you're telling us what the rules are?
My sign is my testimony. I can't go in. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Real simple,
Our
man.
lands are being scooped up by the military.
Good. Okay.
As an expansion of their military.
Speaking
And we don't want that anymore.
Fine. You can do all what you want to say. Let's just say that on public property, man. Not
Well,
your
I'm
private.
saying it to
Good.
you because
Thank
you're
you.
an agent of the military.
Thank you.
You're not violating any rules.
They say it's trespassing.
That's right. It's private property. Private property. Come on. Excuse me.
We're not protesters.
Let's go.
We have come to testify.
Oh, now here comes some more sirens. Bring the sirens.
We are going forward. Don't touch me. We are going forward to express our opinion at this military hearing. Do not jump me.
Don't touch me. I'm not touching you.
Don't touch me.
I'm not touching you.
You're
touching me. Stand right there. Stand right there. Don't go.
I'm trying to go.
I'm doing my job.
This is a fundamental right. Stop pushing me.
Walk on your own, man.
I am a professional who came here to testify against the military presence and expansion in Hawaii.
Take your stuff.
They already have
You want her to take your
1/4 of the control of the land on Oahu. And this is quite an amazing thing that I would be arrested for holding a sign. I think people need to come out at the next, all of the next hearings that are scheduled. As you can see, that there is an extreme fear on the part of the military against people expressing their freedom of speech.
Watch your head as you get in.
The restoration of sovereignty covers such a large political spectrum, from people who simply don't want to forsake those things about being Hawaiian that tie them to their culture, to people who are fiercely nationalistic and want the United States out of here, its military, its entire apparatus.
It's not just about changing one oppressor for another and putting Hawaiian elites in charge. It's really got to be a holistic approach to what it means to reclaim a homeland, and that's why, say, demilitarization is so important. An analysis of late capitalism in Hawaii as it manifests in conjunction with the military occupation, right? How is that tied to globalization? I mean, we need a much broader analysis than just a legal framework that addresses occupation so that we can assert Hawaiian kingdomhood.
Well, there are some people that say the nation-state structure is bad. It's some actually say it's evil. I'm not going to argue with that. It may not be good, but it's what we have at this particular time. It's how we deal with our particular situation, and the overthrow that took place in 1893 was between two independent states. And until that changes, then we'll adjust. Up until that point, we're going to stick to the nation-state and address those issues within the framework of international law.
There is no place for indigenous peoples in a modern state system as it functions now. A modern nation state is focused on assimilating indigenous peoples. So the Kaka Bill is part of the United States nation state trying to assimilate. At the same time, not just us, but all indigenous peoples keep resisting back and back. If we go with the state model of independence as it's being proposed now, are we just going to create another state that's going to push this assimilative thing on us again? And how do we have
the creation or re-recognition or re-establishment of the nation state as only a part, perhaps, of what our future goals should be? And I'm more concerned with the Hawaiian part of the Hawaiian sovereignty issue. If the U.S. today turned around and said, okay, you Hawaiians are an independent nation right now, think about it. We probably end up, as a people, electing some kind of...
It'll be like, oh, well, this person has the expertise because they worked in the system, and that's what got us into trouble in the first place.
Yeah. If you still have a slave mentality, you still don't have the proper consciousness of what it is to be free. And so therefore, the only way you want to act is to reduplicate that process of power into your own self. And you become an oppressor yourself, thinking that that's the course of freedom. And the fear about it is that we've internalized this for generations at this point. The real challenge is really to remove the chains off of our brains. And that's why I said those are dangerous, not the chains around our legs, it's the chains in our brains that really bind us as a people. You know, Biko says that the greatest weapon of the oppressor are the minds of the oppressed. And so they may give us our political freedom, but if our minds are still in tune to behave like oppressors, we will behave like oppressors ourselves. So I'm more concerned for me about our people having that kind of consciousness than walking around with a passport that says we're Kanaka nation state. You see, that's to me, because I would not want us to reduplicate ourselves in the image of our oppressors and think somehow we're free now. We will never be free as a people in Hawaii if the rest of the Pacific is still held by the colonial masters.
Yeah. And they see the Pacific as their military.
Oh, we are the guinea pigs, the military outposts, the dumping ground for radioactive material. They're testing areas for the nuclear weapons, for their rockets. You know, the facilities where they house their, you know, the telescopes to where they hide their nuclear weapons, to being the areas where they stage and practice their nuclear war games through the submarines underground. I mean, we are basically the playground.
O kumulipo ke kani o po ele ko hini o po ele ke kani o po ha ha ko hini o po liuli ke kani o po vehi vehi ko hini o po pano pano ke pa kani o po lalo vehi ko hini o po kano kano ke po lalu ko hini ko po hiolo ke kani po hana e ko hini ko po hana e aku ke kani ka po hana e mai ko hini ko po kini kini ke kani o po manu manu ko hini hana o lai lai he wa hini o ke li wahi la ni kana kani hana o mai ka lawa ti itamu hana o mai o kani hana o kana no ka he hau na wedu hana na pahu mo na lawa ko o kele hana o ela ko la ko hope ku polo li ili mo lo ipo he kana ko la loa ho o ka hilawa li o kana o la ana hana o ta po ilu ki alo ke ko po ino ko po mai kai hana o ta mo te tu o ki ale make ku polo li ili That's our mo olelo.
What is a true Hawaiian? Mana. What's a true Hawaiian?
In 1893, when the occupation began in Hawaii, it wasn't a rebellion of Hawaiian citizens. It was occupation of the U.S. military forces that came in 1893, which continue to occupy land to this day. That's the history.
Uncle Sam better wash his hands because they're filthy. He did the dirty deed, can't you see it's hurting me? So I live my life day by day, keep asserting myself so that I may reach my full potential. Thanks and praise is not essential. And so thank God.
We, the Kanaka, go back to Wake and Papa over 120 generations. And in the Kumulipo, we add on 1,000 more.
What is a true Hawaiian? It's the Hawaiian.
It was our ancestors thousands of years ago who sailed across this moana. 1/3 of the planet is covered by this moana. While we were doing this, the people in Europe were still living in caves and living off of cold meat.
I can't believe how can we follow a government chooses to deceive its own people. They tell us that we equal, but if you look at history, we're just another sequel. Started with America, built on desecration. They call the Indian savages and threw them all on reservations. Then they took the African man from the motherland to this other land to work for the master's plan. That wasn't enough. They had to cross a big blue, and when they saw Hawaii, yeah, they took that too.
The Kakavir isn't coming around today just because Uncle Sam has found in his heart to just be a little bit more generous. This is all part of the master plan to find and legalize the theft in their minds. We see what's coming around the corner. More development upon our sacred lands. Mauna Kea, Haleakala, Noho Hewa, they're coming down. Striker Brigade, they're coming down. That's what the plan, that's what the masses have planned for us. More occupation of our lands by the military. It's always been about military expansion. Check the history from 1893. Why were they here in 1893? Why did they triple, quadruple the military in 1898? For military expansion in the Pacific. But we as Kanakas, we unite here. It's not the air of that constitution or this constitution or that kingdom or this kingdom. It's the air of Ka'aina. What we unite as a people is struggling for the pono of the Aina. Unity will not be given to us. Unity will be taken by us.
1 for the mana, 2 for the islands, 3 for the kupuna, and 4 for the Hawaiians. So long live the Pakalo, long live the king, long live the rush, dynamite sing. When will we see a brighter day? When will we see it?
And we'll always have people from our community, like the Indians call them, they hang around the Fort Indians. Hands open, on their knees, taking what they can get, the few crumbs that come off the table. And they're smiling and happy and saying, thank you, Uncle Sam, thank you. What are you to say? Let's reject that. Because we need our own seat on the table, especially the table is in our own house. It's our table, our food to eat. We must be the own masters of our own home. Umau Kea, o Ka'aina, Ikapono. Mahalo.
The Hawaii.
We'd love to share with our Hawaiian community and everybody out there all our plans and share all our dreams and, you know, like you guys feel us back here. Feel the wind in our face, feel the sun on our skin, but feel us because it's all out here for us. Just make the move because we're all doing the same thing on all the different islands, brothers and sisters out there, because we all learn from each other. We all get different mana'o, but we're all going the same route, and it's all towards sovereignty and our rights. And we know that our kupunas are in back of us. We know that our ancestors are in back of us. Come home. It's all here. Come home.